All right. Well, welcome back to the Family Care Learning Podcast. I'm Scott Hord, and I am the training manager for Christian Family Care, and we are going to be continuing our conversation on shared parenting in foster care. And so today we have Robbie and Carissa Glazner, and they're going to share with a little bit about shared parenting and working with biological children and the family of the biological child or the foster child in their home. So tell us a little bit about yourself first. We'll start off with that. How's that sound?
Sounds great. Yeah. So you know our names, but we've been in foster care for in this process for 4 years now, and we have 4 kids of our biological kids, and we've had 3 placements, so 3 different children that were able to come into our home for a period and then go back and be with someone else.
Yeah, excellent. So good. So you have had a good opportunity to help children and then help see them be reunited back to their family. That's awesome. That's really exciting. So as we think about shared parenting and working with the family and the parents of the children, the foster children in your home, why is it so important? What is the reason why you feel like it's important to be more engaged with biological family?
Well, our goal going into foster care in the beginning was to help whole families, not just children, whenever we would have the opportunity. And so our goal and what we've been talking to with our children before we even started this process was we want to pray for the family, we want to pray for the parents, we want to minister to the whole family in any way that we can. And so we see the shared parenting as a huge part of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excellent. Well, that's excellent. And I'm sure that there's great benefits to not only the child and their family, but to your own family too. Can you share some of the benefits that you've had over the years?
One of the benefits I think that isn't easily identified, but is very apparent, is that specifically as a family, since this is a family ministry, it's not just not Carissa's, it's not just mine, it's our family, it's all 6 of us, our 4 younger kids as well, is that they see themselves as part of the process, not the ultimate solution. Mm-hmm. So we are taking these kids in to be able to help them, to protect them, to give them guidance when they're with us, but ultimately we're just one spoke on this wheel, and we need the other pieces. This child needs all the support system. So for them to see that a child's not coming into our family because this is the ultimate destination of this child, but to see that they have a piece and we need to connect to the other pieces, I think is definitely a benefit.
Wow, that's cool. So they've had a pretty neat experience. What age group do you usually have come into your home?
Usually babies,
under
1 year, and then depending on how long they stay, we end up with toddlers too.
Yeah. Oh, see, now that must be just a blast for your kids, just to have that little baby and to be able to care for the baby, and
they love it.
Yeah. Oh, they must love it. It must be so much fun, and then so that's a great benefit for your kids, for your family, for them to experience that.
Right.
That's so awesome, and then you probably are working with maybe a young mother or maybe a baby that's come from a home where you're going to be providing some extra care until that parents will be able to reunite again with the baby. So is there any benefits to the parents themselves? What kind of interaction have you had where you've seen some benefit to them? Does that make sense?
Well, I think it reassures them because obviously they're going through a very hard time. And there's so many unknowns. And so for any information that we can give them safely about ourselves and then about the child, their child in our care, it just kind of calms them down a little bit and kind of opens them up to us being able to develop a relationship.
Yeah, that's great. And there's probably some challenges along the way, I would imagine, with going about building this relationship with the birth family. What are some challenges that you have faced? Any think of?
Lots. Depends on the family that we're working with, but one that probably is across the board is the fact that there are a lot of barriers to communication. There quite often are a lot of people in between us and the birth family, the biological family.
Yeah.
And so sometimes our communication has to travel through other people, whether it's case aides or case managers, which can make it difficult to get our heart intent across. There can be language barriers. There can be literacy barriers. We've run into that. The notebook doesn't always work.
Yeah.
And with our first placement, I was all prepared and ready to do that, as we learned in our training. And this mom spoke a little English, and she did not really read or write. So that was a major bomb.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't find out until later.
Right.
You're like, whoa,
I kept sending
no one told me.
and it kept coming back with nothing from her. So I was like, she must hate me, but she just couldn't read or write. And finally, a case aide figured that out.
Yeah.
And so that was difficult. It took more creativity in that case.
Have you guys had like any kind of icebreakers or any kind of interaction that way with birth parents?
I'm not sure.
Like a meeting or any kind of help with visitation or that kind of thing?
Well, I think that's, Carissa can elaborate a little bit more on some of the other things, but specifically in the situation where there's language barriers and the reading and writing and all of that, it wasn't until we were able to invite them into in a park setting for a birthday party. Oh. So meeting in a
neutral
park,
location.
a neutral location, bring them, let them feel comfortable, and it was easier to be with them to connect that.
Oh, that's great. So what are some other things that you've done? You've tried the journal, and then you said you invite them to a birthday party. What are some of the things that you found successful, and maybe some instances where you've seen the birth family, the birth parents, and sometimes extended family react positively to your efforts?
The birthday party was a big breakthrough for that particular family. We'd had the little boy for about 6 months already, and I was getting nowhere. I was trying to reach out. This was a case where there were safety concerns, so there were limitations in that aspect as well. But I cleared. We ended up having a birthday party, a first birthday, and at a park, and we took a lot of precautions with it. It was actually across the street from a police station.
Oh, there you go.
And the case manager was there, and we just, cleared everything. So the mom and the grandma and the cousin showed up, and they were so touched and just so amazed. I mean, I just made a very simple birthday cake, nothing fancy, and they were just amazed that I made a cake. I mean, it was, that was really kind of the change of the heart toward us, just to see that we really did love their child, and that we were taking good care of him, and that we wanted to include them. We were not trying to take him away from them. We wanted to include them. Before that, basically, the only thing I'd been able to do was when I would go to the pediatrician, I would get an extra set of papers from them. They always give you the height and the weight and the developmental, all that type of thing. And I was always get an extra set for the birth family. Again, I'm sending it through other people, but at least they would get some information about their child and how they were growing and how they were doing.
That's a really good idea, especially because with a baby, they're going through so many developmental milestones, and to be able to record that or be able to document that or get that to the mom so she can experience that. Right. Yeah, that's so important. Yeah, that's great.
And I think that's if we're talking, benefits and opportunities or challenges, hurdles that you have to overcome, it's kind of one and the same. By the hurdle is that when you are in a situation like that and they don't know who you are, right, and you're not able to make contact, the only the only way that they know who you are is through that case aid that brings the child for a visitation. Right?
Yeah.
That's their only. They don't know. They haven't seen you. They don't know who you are. They haven't had communication with you, except for what you've been sending through the case aid. And so by pursuing shared parenting, by trying to include them and allow them, you actually give them more of a perspective of who you are as a foster parent, and really being able to deal with the hurdle of communication and not knowing who each other are by purposing to connect.
Yeah. Did you guys have any apprehension or any kind of anxiety before or after, or kind
Well,
of
I think safety concerns are always
Sure.
an issue. So, but I mean, we had lots of good input from our licensing worker, and just asking for advice as far as what would be a safe way to go about it.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I like what you're saying, Robbie, too, about just kind of calming the nerves of the birth family, because they don't know anything about you. I mean, they're coming in like, who are these people? And if you could just give them a little glimpse of who you are, that helps them to feel more at ease.
Right.
Yeah, that's so important.
And if our goal is to develop a relationship down the road with the birth family, to be able to maybe even mentor them, to have any type of a relationship with the child once they're reunited, hopefully, the only way we can do that is by building trust.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no way you can do it if they don't know anything about you. But if at least you have a chance of building a relationship, if you have a relationship with them, or continuing the relationship. Yeah.
And I think it's a great point. And one thing that Carissa does really well in connections with that, specifically with the situation we were talking about, where communication was hard, the language literacy barriers. We have a birthday party, and once reunification happened, the child was out of our house, but we were able to reach out and say, can we meet you and do Christmas?
Oh, wow.
And so we did that. And then the second year, the same thing. Like, can we meet you at this park?
So you continued the relationship even though the child was returned to the home.
We've tried, yes,
Yeah.
we've tried, and it's completely in the parents', it's their decision whether they want to or not. But we do keep reaching out, and we always include presents with our reach out to kind of motivate the the reunion a little bit. But but just every time we get a chance to see these kiddos again, we just reiterate, we're praying for you. We would love to help out if you need us to babysit sometime, or just let us know how we can support you.
Man, that's awesome. What a ministry. I mean, what an opportunity to really impact someone else's life beyond just taking care of their children. That's really cool.
One other thing that has been effective is I've made photo albums for the
Okay, I was
parents.
going to ask you about that. Okay.
So I just do the digital ones because all of our pictures are there. So I've done them for Christmas presents, or
You mean like where you have the digital pictures, but they make it like a little book?
yes, make a
Oh,
little
that's
book.
awesome.
Yeah. So
Today's
I've done
technology
that
is so easy.
Yeah, a couple times. And particularly with one child, we had the baby from the time he was born until he was 7 weeks old. And so mom didn't have any pictures. I mean, because she didn't have him except for maybe a few visits. So that was kind of an excuse for me to reach out to her and say, I'd be glad to, print out some pictures of your baby when he was tiny. Would you like some of those? And so then they gave us a reason to meet up, and I made her a little photo album, and then also printed out some prints, and that I could tell meant a lot to her, even more than a toy, because it was kind of a gap in her memories of her baby.
Exactly. Yeah, well, that's great. Yeah, the memory books or the photo albums are a perfect way to give something to that family that's really of a lot of value. So that's cool. Okay, let's see. Any other ideas that you've used that maybe something that you would tell somebody who was nervous or afraid or not sure if they want to build a relationship with the birth family? What kind of things could you tell them?
I think there's a lot of conversation to be had because it is situation dependent, right? Like you have to consider the context and ultimately what your mission as a foster parent is your mission to create a safe and healthy place, both mentally and physically, for those that are put in your care, to minister to a family holistically, not just the child, but the parents and aunts and grandparents. And if that is, if that's part of your family mission in doing this, then begin with the end in mind. Like if you know that the goal is reunification and that child is to be in that place, in that family's care forever after they're in yours. If that were to be true, then what needs to happen now with them and their biological parents? Well, they need that connection. And that means that they need you to connect to their biological parents. They need you to do that because you're there for them. You're there as the stopgap to be able to care for them emotionally, physically, and mentally.
Yeah, because that's really the goal. The goal is reunification.
Right.
And so, okay, so I hear what you're saying. You're saying, see that as the goal, work back from there and say, how are we going to make this reunification most successful?
Right.
And that's really healthy because especially, I don't know about babies, but little children, they catch that. They can see that you are really interested in their mom and dad, and they can see that, oh, wow, this is healthy. This is a safe place. This is people that really care about my whole family, not just...
Babies get it too.
I know. I think so.
We just had an 8-month-old reunify with an aunt, and I could watch her look at me and look at her aunt.
Interesting.
And look at me and look at her aunt. So I made sure that I was smiling at her aunt. I was very friendly to her aunt, which I like her aunt anyway, but I could tell that little sweetie was looking to me and then looking at this other lady and trying to just figure it all out inside her little head.
Yep.
So it definitely, they get it really early.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, they just pick up on that, and because the babies they're nonverbal, so everything is caught by just kind of the motion and the feelings and the atmosphere, and by smiling, by giving a positive attention to the baby's mom or relative, they really catch that. Right. That's pretty cool.
Well, and if a person has some apprehension, I think that one of the things in the back of our minds too is, why are we doing it? So if we're not doing it for the money, right? And no one that's looking at this course or listening here is saying, well, I'm doing this for financial gain. It's altruism. It's saying, I want this child to be successful and healthy. And so I think having that kind of a mindset will allow us to make decisions now that will affect the child's future even beyond our care. So like the 8-month-old that Carissa was just talking about, because that connection was important, Carissa was actively giving visitations, right? So she is saying, is there some time that we can, beyond what the requirement is? Saying
DCS wasn't doing any visits.
They weren't doing
any
any
okay
visits.
with it.
They were okay with it. They just weren't doing it.
Complicated situation, but it
always is.
But because of this, and I was able to do it in a way that was safe for our family, but they wouldn't have seen this baby from the time they were 2 months old until reunification at 8 months old.
Yeah.
There would have been no attachment.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, and I think that goes above and beyond too, is that when you're trying to let that family have a visit with their children. Right. That goes above and beyond. That's really cool. It's
right. It is, and that's why I started saying that it was very situation dependent. Right. It's more than just the foster parents involved in many of those decisions. We're just a spoke on this wheel, but
you have to clear it with everybody.
Yeah, I know.
But it also then allows where the child's not in our care anymore, but we've babysat her twice in the last 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
And so she's, because there is that connection, she has even while it was in our care, it seemed to be like a seamless transition to the aunt.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And
that's
it makes
a good
us
point.
feel better about, grieving her moving on.
Yeah. That's what I'm sitting here listening to you. And that's one thing I was really amazed that you guys are, because that's hard. That is probably the hardest thing when all the classes that we do and all the people I talk to that are looking into foster care. Oh, I could never do that. I could never let that baby go out of my home.
I would get too attached.
I would get too attached. But you guys kind of see beyond that because you see the big picture. But it's still hard.
It still is very
But
hard.
it makes it easier when you've built that. That the parents that baby's going back to. You know their situation. You know that maybe you're going to be able to see them again.
We've invested in them, and they know it,
Yeah,
and we're still able to because they trust us to let the baby come to our house for the day. It's free childcare, so it benefits them, but they also know she's somewhere safe.
Yeah.
And we get to see her.
Yeah.
So.
And again, it just really is a benefit to you and to your heart to know that you're doing the right thing, and you're also going to be able to have an ongoing relationship because you took the time and effort to build that relationship. So
If someone is feeling anxious about shared parenting, I would just say, just start with something small.
Okay.
And see how it goes. And again, you never know what is going to work with a particular family. The notebook might be great, or it might not work. Having a party might not be safe, or it might be the thing that opens up communication between you. So I would just say start with something small and see how it goes, and pray and ask God for wisdom to direct your paths.
Yeah, that's awesome. Was there any last words you guys want to add about shared parenting? Or
I just keep coming back to beginning with the end in mind.
Yeah.
Like if really your goal is to help that child be in the context that God had put them and they were born into, and that is the place that they should be, and it's healthy. And then what do we need to do? And part of that is connecting with as the best to our ability in a safe way with that family.
Yeah, and it's really cool. As Christians, we know we're honoring God. We know that we are making an impact in someone's life. You could change the course of somebody's life by just having that little relationship with them. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for talking with us today, and thank you for the opportunity to hear your story. That will be the conclusion of our podcast. So thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for watching this video, and I hope that you were personally encouraged. If you'd like to help us make more videos like this, please consider making a tax-deductible donation and telling your friends and families so that we might continue our work to strengthen families.